it's Matt Pinfield in a lonely place. Here we are. It's Thursday, and I named this show after basically a Humphrey Bogart movie from 1950, and a song by the Smithereens, who are from my hometown. I did a duet with Suzanne Vega, and it's a New Order song as well. Speaking of New Order, Peter Hook from Joy Division in New Order is going to be on the show soon. Has agreed he wanted to come on. But, the reason I named it that is because, we're all sequestered, as I say, self-quarantined. It's kind of crazy the way, but I love doing this show. There's so many reasons why it's so important to me. I do it because of my love of music, and I just want to share that passion with artists that are my friends so we can talk to you and tell you about the records that meant so much in our lives and just kind of catch up on how we're all dealing with the pandemic. And the other thing is, we're doing this for Music Cares. Once again, if you have some money to donate, we certainly appreciate it. But if you don't, we also understand a lot of people don't know where their next paycheck's coming from, and we can relate, and that's why we're here. And, the most important thing is we can take you away for an hour and have a good time and talk about music. So the great thing is my guest today, I love this guy so much. We became friends. We met actually when the first record they put out came out on Atlantic after it had already been an independent record. Hints and Allegations, the record. And from that moment on, we were friends. We're Georgia guys. Like I was born in Athens, Georgia. He's from Georgia. The band was from Georgia. But I just loved his songwriting so much. His songwriting spoke to me in such a big way. And I love those records. Still do. He still writes great stuff. A couple of years ago, he wrote this song called Hurricane that I was so in love with. It just became one of my favorite songs that year. So I want to introduce you to Ed Roland of Collective Soul. Ed, what's up, buddy?
Hey, bud. How you doing, Matt? So good to see you, buddy.
Man, it's so great to see you always, man. Last time we saw each other, we were in San Francisco over at K-Fog. You came in and played acoustic, and it was just so good to see you. And
you too. It was nice and early, wasn't it? About 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Certainly not. It's really funny that I've done morning shows in New York and San Francisco. Because I'm not really a morning guy, really. I don't know about any of these other morning DJs, but I never got used to it. And I still never loved getting up at 4 a.m. Sorry. I had some great times, and I'm proud that I got these morning shows, but yeah, 4 a.m. it's rough. We're music guys. So, you're a musician. I'm out, DJing in clubs for years and rock clubs and out seeing shows. So, the morning show thing is it's tough hours, but you were great regardless.
Well, you know what? It was just fun when they asked me. I was like, if it's Matt, I'm there. I don't care what time of the day it is. I just love being around you, buddy. Because I love your knowledge. I don't know if you remember this. It was the first time we met. We actually went and had lunch. I don't know if you remember this, but because by the way, all the guys tell me to tell you, hey, send their love.
Come on, man.
And you sat there and you said, you know what song y'all should cover? I don't know if you remember this. You said you should cover Jet by Wings. And forever, I would try to cover it, and I just never did. But I'm going to do that one day just for you. I'm going to send it just to you.
Yeah, it's such a great song, man. And I always thought it was a great version of it. And, it was getting to interview McCartney and spend time with him and talk to him about what that song was about with the pony. And, it's just it's still one of my favorite things in the world that Paul said after this one interview. He goes, hey, man, if it wasn't my wedding anniversary with Nancy, I would we'd go to the pub and talk about rock and roll. It was great. I still have the audio because I have the uncut interview.
That's awesome.
Special. We did an NPR, me and him, and it wasn't for NPR. It was for, for commercial radio, but always been such a nice guy. And I love Jet. And, who covered it? Jellyfish covered it once, and Foo Fighters were going to cover it. And I walked backstage at Roseland, and Dave goes, Matt, what are the fucking words to Jet? And I'm like, oh, shit. I'm trying to remember both verses. And then
just do Jet. Woo, 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 woo.
Yeah, that's all right. Exactly.
Make the rest of it up.
Yeah. And it's funny. I told that story. I got to talk to Paul about the fact that he, when he was in Nigeria and he was making that record, he was literally almost murdered. I mean, he was these people jumped out of a car and he thought they were fans. They held that knife to his throat like a machete. And Lynne was like, Beat Paul. And they finally let him go. Which was crazy. But I'm glad he lived through it. I mean,
so am I. So's
right.
the world.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Hey, so Ed, let's talk about like how's everything going with you? I mean, you're a father like me. We certainly love our kids. How's everything going with the family through the pandemic? I mean, how's everybody holding up?
Everything's great. I got the first 3 weeks when everything happened. I was on a family vacation in the Caribbean, and there was no TV. We didn't know what was going on, and I came home on a Saturday. And that next Sunday morning, I had to go to bar mitzvah, and I went to hug this lady because I'm a hugger. That's just how I am. And she backed up from me like she was like, "Sir, it's a 6 feet rule," and I was like, "What the fuck's a 6 foot rule?" I was like, I didn't know. And we'd already planned as a band for 2 weeks before our tour was to start. We were going to go down to Florida. We rented a house. We were going to learn this new recording program, but also just rehearse and just get together as boys because we love each other and we enjoy each other's company. So I went ahead and took the flight down, not realizing that what was going on. I had seen no TV, nothing. So I get to Florida, and Jesse, our lead guitarist, got down there. Sean, our engineer, got down there, and the assistant, Cheney, who used to be the drummer in the band, got down there. But then Dean called me that night, and Johnny and Will, and they're like, our wives will not let us leave the house. And I was like, what is going on? I had no idea. So the first 3 weeks, we sat down there and learned this program. The next week, Jesse and I are sitting there. I was like, well, I guess I'll demo, some Collective Soul songs for the next record, because our Vibrating record, it's called Vibrating, it's supposed to come out in June. It's not going to come, nobody knows when it's going to come out or what's going to happen. So I decided, okay, I'll just demo some songs. So after the 4th day, Jesse looks at me and he goes, dude, this is not how Collective Soul works. You come in, you present the songs, and one day we knock it out. I go, I got it. And I said, well, let's start another band. So we started the band called The Living Room because we were in a living room. And I said, it can't sound like Collective Soul. So what do we want to sound like? And we were just talking. And I just made the comment, the only fan club I ever joined in my life was the Cars. And everybody's head turned and they go, okay, that's what we're going to do. So for the next 4 days, we just did an EP. And the band's called The Living Room. And we just made good use of the time. And then the wives called and said, it's the last day to get out of Florida to get home. We all had, live in different states. So I made the decision to come home. And since I've been home, I've spring cleaning, redone all my guitars. It's just trying to make the best you can of it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, let me ask you a question. When you did the EP, were you guys covering Car songs? Like
no, we wanted that sound.
Yeah.
So, we just had a blast. There was no pressure. There was, because nobody, who cared? We just had a great time. And it was just it's one of my favorite bands. And I sent it to Elliot Easton. He goes, pretty close. And I said, mission accomplished.
That's awesome. Elliot's a good guy. Dinner with him and my friend Peter Katz's over at the Chateau Marmont like 5-6 months ago. We just talked about so many of those records. Because, the Cars' first album and Candy-O are two of my all-time favorites. I mean, I just love those records. And there was a B-side called That's It. It was a B-side of Let's Go that I fucking love, like about ending a relationship. One of my favorite songs, man, ever. And it's funny when you find those gems, you know what I mean? So Elliot and I have had a conversation, and you'll appreciate this because, when Leslie and I were working together in New York, Leslie Fram, who is our dear, dear friend who we love.
Love Leslie.
We love her forever. I mean, she's forever. She's a sister to me. I remember that case that comes in and we're like hanging out, we're telling stories. And I told him that I liked You Can't Hold On Too Long, this really short song on Candy-O. And he goes, man, I always love that because you like the weird ones too. It was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty cool. But so tell everybody, I remember, of course we met. We immediately hit it off. And I love the band because I love the songs. But
Thank you.
About making the first record and like when Shine took off, like what, and then all of a sudden the next thing you know, like Atlantic's calling you. Tell me about the story behind that.
Well, I worked as an engineer in a studio. Actually, Will, the bass player's father, had a studio where I grew up, Stockbridge, Georgia, which is a little south of Atlanta. And I decided that I couldn't find a bandmate. So I went and started working there. I sat there for 6 months before they allowed me to start working, cutting tape, engineering. And actually, the first artist I recorded was RuPaul, believe it or not. And So over this 5-year period, I just would record stuff by myself. Shine's a drum machine. It's me hitting a pad. And I just gathered all this up. And at that time, I was 29 years old, which is old in rock and roll. I mean, you're long in the tooth at that age. So I just said, you know what? I'll just send this out to all publishers. I'll be a songwriter. I'll try to be a songwriter. Excuse me. And at the time, I sent it to radio stations. I sent it to everybody. And then Album 88 at Georgia State, which was a 100,000 watt radio station, which back in the day was the ones that introduced me to like The Cure, REM, which was not being played on FM radio at the time. Cocteau Twins, things like that, which just the Clash, I was like absorbing that. So my brother Dean was going to Georgia State at the time. So I gave him a cassette and I said, just go to the station, see if they'll play anything. And they played Shine. And this was the winter of '93. And they called me. It was their number one request. They called me and asked us, would we do a Christmas show for them for Album 88? And at the time, we weren't a band. I mean, my brother and the rest of the band were in a frat band. And every once in a while, I'd jump up and they knew the songs. I'd say, can I just sing 3 of my originals? And so we put the band together real quick, not knowing, literally 5 songs. And but we played Shine. People went absolutely nuts. It was sold out. And, this is after, 12 years of me playing clubs and everything where nobody came to my shows unless it was someone I was dating. And that was just because they got free beer or whatever. And all of a sudden there's 1,000 people screaming, yeah. And from there, it was JR, I believe, in Orlando played at the first commercial station, Steve Robertson. And they asked us to come down there. And I'll never forget, we're driving down there. And this is before we were Atlantic. And we're in my, it's the old story. We borrowed my parents' van. We were driving down in a van with the gear. And we listened to the station. It was getting close to Orlando. And they had their top 5 at 5. And, I think it was like Alice in Chains, 5. I don't know but it was Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, Pearl Jam. And I remember looking at the guys. I was like, man, one day we may be able to be in that top 5. And then at number 1, they said, a band we don't know much about, but they're somewhere close to Atlanta, and they're called Collective Soul. And it was Shine. We literally pulled the van over and looked at each other, and we literally were just going, what the fuck is going on? It was just so fast, so quick. And, Dean was going to school, Will was going to school. It was just, everybody had to just make a decision real quick. Were you going to school, or was this a, fly by night thing? We just had no idea. And we just all looked at each other. And after that showcase, Jason Flom flew down and signed us right there. He's like, and we thought, oh, that's great. Now we get to go make the record. And Jason was like, nope, if it's not broke, don't fix it. We're releasing it as is. And it kind of threw us back a little bit because it truly wasn't a band. It was Ed in a basement on an 8-track machine demoing all different styles of music. It wasn't truly cohesive at all. If you listen to the record, I'm proud of the songs and the songwriting, but it's not a band. And so that's why when we got signed and we were on the road, every day we had off, if you notice the new record, the second record that came out, which we call Collective Soul, because we truly feel that's the original first record of Collective Soul. Every day we had off, we went to a studio, which was kind of fun because I always had that imagery of Zeppelin doing that. I'm not comparing to Zeppelin, but just every day off, they would go and make a record. And our second record came out 8 months after the first one. And we actually had rumors circulating that we were going to get dropped by Atlantic. So I was like, I'm not giving them much time. We got to do this, boys. And every day we had off, we were working our asses off.
It's funny. I was just talking about Zeppelin 2 and how what you're doing and how cohesive the record sounds and you're recording. And same thing with Jimmy Page and doing Zeppelin 2. It sounds like it's all recorded in the same place. And it's all about the performances. And same with your second record. Oh my God, I love that album so much. Song after song, hit after hit. December, right? Gel, and The World I Know, and one of my favorites of all time by you, which we had this conversation a lot. I love Where the River Flows. The first time I heard that riff, I was like, I would blast it in my car, and song drove me crazy. I just love the feel of it. And then when it changes tempo, you know what I mean, in the middle of it. And I remember being with Metallica in Aberdeen, Washington, Kurt Cobain's hometown. We were doing an MTV thing called The Mother Load, and the winner was there. So the winner, like literally, Metallica came play basketball with you. We got out of the back of a tractor trailer with they got a Jeep and all this equipment, and then they played in a little bar. So after everybody left, it was just me and Metallica, and I put on your album, the second record, and I put on Where the River Flows. And I remember Lars, Kirk, everybody going, dude, this is fucking good, man. I'm like, yeah, how great is this fucking song? So it was just because it always just lifts me up, man. And you got to tour with them, right? How was that tour with the guys? 5 years later, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. I think it's been about 10 years, and we did a South African tour with them, and they were just it's exactly what you think. Lars is Lars, and and we just had fun. Every night we'd go out. They were very personable and very kind, and we've been blessed with that. Starting with Aerosmith is our first tour. I mean, we got signed and we're rehearsing in our parents' basement. We went and played Woodstock and then left to go out with Aerosmith. I mean, you want to talk about just culture shock in general. And the reason I wrote River Flows is because Joe Perry had this electric automatic tuning guitar. They'd just come out, and I was talking to him. So I bought one, and you just press a button and it would do these crazy tunings. So the night I got it, I sat in the hotel room and I can remember writing River Flows. I just remember writing that riff because I didn't even know what I was playing because they would just do a different tuning, which at the end, it was just a drop D, but it had the chords and stuff. I was having to reconfigure how to finger the chords, but we made it simpler once we got in the studio. But we were, got off that tour, made the record in between that tour, went straight out with Van Halen. So we've been, and those cats were so kind to us too. We've just been blessed with that, people just really being nice and helpful to us.
Yeah, I think that's great, man. I know there was a period where there was a management situation and there was some stuff that went down, and I don't have to go deeply into it or anything. If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. But yeah, I was really upset. I heard some things. And I was like, because you were just the best guys, and the songs were the greats. They were so good. I just love the music. And then there was some stuff that went on. Do you want to stay away from that, or?
No, we could talk about it because I'm very proud of that moment. Because when we got off the road after the second record, we realized that we were making $150 a week, and I'm not saying somebody did something or didn't do something. All I know is we were making $150 a week.
You were selling millions and millions of records and getting tons of airplay. You have 5 singles on that album.
And I would see us on MTV, VH1. I'm like, that's interesting. And so we had to go through a legal battle. And during that time, my father knew a man that had a cow farm, and he had a cabin on there. And it was 400-acre cow farm, literally with a wood-burning stove that heated the cabin. So he let me live there for free. And I was newly married. And I brought the engineer, and the band would come in there, and we recorded in probably a total of 800 square feet. So we weren't supposed to be recording. So I decided, okay, we'll just
where you were literally had to be secretly recording because of legal shit. Which I hear those stories, and I'm like, it's the same story of Badfinger and bands like that I love over there.
Yeah, it's no different than, like one of my heroes, Damn the Torpedoes, Tom Petty. He had to hide the tapes. I wasn't hiding anything. I didn't know we'd use it, but we settled it. And at the end of it, I was like, you know what? This was honest making in a kitchen. Basically, we set up in a kitchen. We just threw all the furniture outside. And, sonically, it's not the best sonic, but I don't care about those things. It was heartfelt. And to me, you could hear us you could hear us hurting. You could hear it in the lyrics. You could hear all of that. And the record company was a little hesitant about it because of the sound quality, but I was very adamant that that's what I wanted people to hear. If I had to go recreate it, it wouldn't have had the same vibe or energy or what we were going through at the time.
Yeah. And Precious Declaration, man, what a great lyric too. When you know the story too, but I still love that in so many ways. Listen, a lot of things on that third record,
Yeah.
I'm glad.
The funniest thing about that was I literally would have to go out and we had a little TV in there and we'd see us on, like I said, MTV and, read all these articles. And I would have to go out every afternoon and chop trees down and wood to put in the stove, make sure we had heat for the night and could cook.
I mean, that's real paying your dues. You know what I mean?
It's like, my God.
Somebody said to me, in times like these, like the pandemic, it's not about building character, it's about revealing your character. And I think the things that's interesting is all those things that we've experienced in our lives, like what you're talking about, what you guys had to do. Those are the things that really have built our character. And sometimes, it's all part of that journey. And it's amazing to me. So the next record, I want to talk about Dosage because, man, did I love that. And I remember we did the album special for that. We did a bunch of them, but we got together and I was telling you how much Heavy was such an important song to me. And how, the beauty of how short it was, like it is like it just explodes on you. But I haven't been in relationships that are heavy and you're just holding on that baggage and sometimes it's holding you down, you go through splits or whatever. I love that song. And I had that song whether I was running or on a treadmill all the times. And I still put it on the mixes. I can even show you some part of my mix. I mean, I love that. That and Where the River Flows are always on my mixes. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. When I wrote that song, I'll never forget, the guys were like, dude, you're not saying the word heavy in the song. And I was like, they didn't say trampled underfoot in theirs either.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's great. That's a great analogy. The Zeppelin thing. Heavy's great, man. Was that a personal thing as well? Was it?
Yeah. At that point, we were feeling, Atlantic did a lot of great things for us. They introduced us to the world, but at the same time, we felt like we just weren't getting any notice or respect. And I think like Heavy's a perfect example. When it came out, I said, when can we do a video? And they go, well, let's see what it does at radio. I said, okay, just being the Southern gentleman. And it went to #1. I said, can we make a video yet? Because I had a concept in my head for the video. And they're like, nah, let's just see what it does. I was like, well, it's #1. Well, let's just see if it has life. So the 5th week, I said, can we make a video? They're like, we don't know. Nah, not yet. The 15th week, it was #1. I said, I guess we're not making a video, are we? So it was kind of, the tensions were boiling between us and Atlantic. It wasn't boiling, and there just was no love anywhere. I mean, once again, and I know it's a blessing because I've talked to many artists that, nobody ever came to the studio. They never even knew we made a record. I would just go in, we'd come home in 2 days, we go, we're bored. I go, guys, y'all want to go make a record? We go make a record, and I fly out to New York and they go, oh, we didn't know you did this. I was like, here it is.
Yeah.
It was it was different, and we didn't know, as we were young, naive, and a lot of it fell on us. We should have invited them in. We just didn't know.
Well, I'll tell you something. I remember that happening exactly, and you and I having that conversation during that time. I remember how I was irritated about it because I was like, what the fuck is it? I mean, this record's been #1 for almost 3 months. And Dosage was a great record, and Pete, your fans loved it. But it's really interesting how those relationships with labels sometimes can be very weird and strained. And obviously, I worked at Columbia, did A&R, became a VP of A&R and Artist Development for rock at Columbia for a while, almost 7 years. And man, you learn a lot of shit, man. You get a front seat for everything. You know what I mean?
Right. And people don't understand. It is political, and it's both sides have to come together. It's no different than any relationship. And like I said, we were just naive. We didn't know. We just wanted to work and make music. But I will say, the one time I can remember this. I flew up to. We just did a show because we finished in Savannah and I had a day off. I flew to New York to talk to the president of Atlantic, and this was during the Metallica Napster thing going on. So I went in to the president's office, and I was, spilling. I was like, hey, what do we need to do to get more love from y'all? Are we not giving you the love? Let's work as a team here. And, we kind of settled it. And then I brought up, like, what are we going to do about this whole digital thing, with Napster and what's going on with Metallica? And I kid you not, Matt, the cat, to this day, I can remember it forever. He literally threw his hands. He went, it'll go away. And I remember walking out, calling my attorney. I was like, okay, something's got to change here quick.
Yeah, man. Well, it's funny. There's, Mark Geiger, who's a really good friend of mine. And, he was, he's the head of touring for William Morris. And I saw him speak, and he said a really nice thing that night. Like he was talking about, some radio people were asking him some stuff, and I was moderating a thing with him, and he's doing a keynote. I did one up with them, and he said a really nice thing about me, which meant the world to me. He goes, so you can't invent that Pinfield. You can't create something that is what it is. But he also said, he told a story about, the car companies, literally the car companies, the train companies originally had the opportunity to invest in them. And it's always the same thing. It's like cable, the major networks, everybody was like, oh, no one's going to pay for fucking TV. And, now that where I used to have an office in this right here, and I used to have an office here at the NBC Universal building. And now it says Comcast NBC Universal. So that's what it is. It's people that resist change, or they try to ignore it. I mean, it's just going to it'll swallow people up. It'll swallow businesses up. I mean, these things change. And that's so many things change in the digital world. And that's why we just got to keep moving forward,
Right. And you always got to keep looking like what you're doing right now. I mean, just honestly, a year or two ago, would you think you'd be doing what you're doing? You're changing with the times, and that's what you have to do. It's not going to, we're not going to play 45s the rest of our lives like they did in the 60s. We're not going to have 8-track tapes. We're not going to have, you learn to adapt. That's how you survive, I think,
I agree 100%, Ed. So let me just say, there's so many, I'm looking forward to the album, and I'm sure we're going to do something together when the new album comes out. You wrote a song called Hurricane on not the last album, but the one before it, which I loved. I love them all, but Hurricane blew me away. It just reminded me of relationships. I'm always like, that's always a thing with me with songs. I always relate. I'm a big lyrics guy. I love lyrics so much. So, and that was such a great record. I'm glad you came to San Francisco and hung out with me and did that and performed it that day. But I want to talk to you right now about some of your favorite albums, because I love what you picked, and I'm always excited to see what my friends pick as some of their favorite records. And obviously 7 records is not the easiest thing to do. Like in my book,
I know it's like picking your favorite child.
Yeah.
I have my favorite 7 every day.
Yeah, and that's what it is too, and they change. And that's the thing that's funny. Like I'll look at the 50 on it for each decade in my book, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot that, and oh shit, I forgot that. Well, that was great, but it was what I was thinking at the moment.
Right.
And what I was smart about in my book was, because the book came out in 2016, I did not pick albums for the 2010s, because you got to live with records for a while. You have to remember, you got to know whether it was that thing that stays with you. Now you pick a record that I love so much, and I think the first record you pick, I got to say, is like a record that was really, I, of course, loved a lot of Elton John stuff, but Honky Chateau was an album that was so big for me. It was at the right time, and I love it. There were so many songs on that record, and he was changing. He was really changing, and he was using Davy Johnstone and Dee Murray and Nigel Olsson and all the guys in such a great way. And me and Davy Johnstone are good friends now. He's what a guitar player. His sound, man, such a great dude, great people. But tell me why you love Honky Chateau, and tell me about some of the songs that really resonate with you.
I love all of Elton's songs. I'm an Elton nut, as you know. I got this bobblehead right back here. It's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. He stays with me all the time. He's my hero. And the first album I ever bought, besides Jungle Book, the Disney movie, was The Greatest Hits. But before that, I was staying at my aunt and uncle, and they had Honky Chateau, and they were in the other room. I just went and put the record on. I remember when Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatter's hit, for a 10-year-old kid, it just struck me. And if you go back in Elton's catalog, to me, that's when he was kind of defining that pop element, that was just what became Elton. I love the ones before it. but he started really developing that just magic that's Elton. So Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters is still just, I mean, I can never get tired of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. You know, that album, starting with Honky Cat and Rocket Man, of course, is on there.
Yeah.
One of the greatest songs ever written. You know, but even those like album tracks like I Think I'm Gonna Kill Myself and I love Hercules, which was so good.
Hercules, yeah.
And the Susie dramas, like there's but I love like Salvation and Mellow in those songs. Mm-hmm. It's like I just love that record. So
I do too. I think it's a very complete. I'm an album guy. I only listen to vinyl. I don't even stream. So I have like 5,000 vinyls, and I like to put the needle on and just hear what that artist was thinking the whole time. And to me, it's just a consistent flow, just song after song. And I mean, when did it come out? 72, 73?
Yeah, that was. I'm thinking it's 72. Yeah, because next was after Honky Chateau was Don't Shoot Me.
Don't Shoot Me. Yeah.
And then he got caught with Crocodile Rock and Daniel, and then of course. Of course, High Up Road, which was a masterpiece in a million ways.
Right, but you can see the flow where he was going. To me, it started. You know, it's kind of like Rubber Soul with the Beatles, if that makes sense. You know, you can kind of see it's starting to go in that direction, and it just holds a special. It's the first song I ever heard Elton. You know, like I said, just putting it on Mona. I just like the word Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters, and I remember just putting the needle and just going, wow. I want to be like that cat.
Yeah, and it's amazing, you know, the fact that relationship with him and Bernie Taupin.
It really is, and it's amazing. You think about it over 50 years. I mean, marriages don't last that long, you know, and friendships don't last that long. And this is not only a friendship, but it's a business, you know. And I'm sure they had their ups and downs, but for them to still just. You know, I've been around both of them. They love and truly love and adore each other. They admire each other. Yeah,
they are. Bernie's a cool dude. I bought, you know, I know you guys have hung with Elton a lot. Like Elton and I hung out one night in New York City. He was doing a thing of a Rocket Records relaunch, and I'm talking to him about B-sides and shit, like Young Man Blues and Screw You, that song.
Yeah.
There's some other couple. He was so psyched. He was put his arm around me. He was laughing. He thought it was so fun. He just got a kick out of my energy. It was funny. But I know it when he lived in Atlanta. You know, Leslie would go over to his house and have dinner, and he'd come on the morning show with her there at 99X and play his piano. It was always up on new music. So did you hang with him when you lived in Atlanta?
Yeah, a lot. I was actually with him when he came to 99X when he was there that morning. Yeah, he's just been a wonderful friend and a mentor. And the wonderful thing I love about when you meet your heroes, it's not just about the music that he created and things like that, but he's a good human being. Like what he's given back to society, to his neighbors, to his neighborhoods. You know what? It's just icing on the cake when you meet your musical hero and they're just as good people, you know, human beings. So yeah, I've got to spend a lot of time with Elton, and it's been a blessing. I mean, that's my reward in music, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing to hear. You know, man, I love those records. You know, I love Tumbleweed Connection, too. Like, I go back to that. Like, Amarina, because it's playing in the beginning of Dog Day Afternoon, the entire song.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when they're scanning Brooklyn before Al Pacino robs that bank.
Right. Ballad of a Well-Known Gun.
Yeah. Oh, and you know, Come Down in Time, which is a little hard for me to listen to these. I love it, but it was like a song between me and one of my exes that it was just.
Like, sorry about that. I do like Sting's version of that he did. I don't know if you remember when they did that.
Yeah, it was great.
He did a great job of that.
Cameron Crowe's favorite, like "Come Down in Time" is Cameron Crowe's like favorite Elton song too.
That's awesome.
But I will just say that, like, man, I love that stuff. All of those records, and even Captain Fantastic was such a great record, right? I mean, like,
oh my god, I almost put that on there because I've been listening to that a lot. Just the production of it with the slap back on the drums, bum 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 bum. Better Off Dead. I mean, it's just cool stuff.
Writing, I got to get a meal ticket.
Got to get a meal ticket. Yeah.
Someone Saved My Life Tonight. One of the greatest songs ever. I mean, I just what a record. So let's move on because I know we got like 21 minutes, man, and you got great records. I want to think of them, and I love talking to you about music. I could sit there and talk to you for hours because you and I have been
Can't
friends.
do.
You know what I mean? So INXS, I still haven't seen that new documentary Mystify on Michael Hutchins, but my two dealings with Michael Hutchins, he was a very sweet guy. It was cool. He was fun to hang out with.
I got to meet him once. I took him back to his hotel room. I went to a show of his, and he was outside just hanging out like a dude. And I was so nervous. I took him back to his hotel, me and my pal that were there. But I did see that a documentary. You need to watch it. It's very special. And I've always said this: of frontmen, besides Sammy Davis Jr., who I was blessed to see, he is the best frontman. He's the best frontman I've ever seen in rock and roll by far. There's just something energetic, sexy. He does it with ease. And actually, the first band I started, I went to INXS, the Listen Like Thieves tour, and they had go-go dancers singing background vocals in it. And this dear friend of mine, you may know Michelle Kaplinger. She does the Grammys here in the Southeast. Yeah, and she joined the band. I was like, I need you to get in the cage and act like a go-go dancer and sing background vocals.
That's great. That's amazing. They're such great guys. And Ferris Brothers have always been, dealt with them a lot over the years. I've been at some of those tours, like Kick. And I mean, I love like all that stuff. Don't Change. Like those songs are so great. But I love that you picked Listen Like These because that was the tour you saw. That was like your thing,
correct.
Right?
Shine Like It Does.
Yeah.
Shine like it does.
Yeah. I mean, he was just that, guy, he had it all, man. He's, like you said, he had sexuality. He was a great frontman. He was just swagger. So great. Now, the next record you have is Jeff Lynne, and I love ELO, like I always have. The first thing I ever heard from ELO when I was a kid was Roll Over Beethoven, their cover, but I really got into them with Face the Music with, Strange Magic and Evil Woman and Fire on High.
Telephone Line.
Yeah, oh, that's great. New World Record. What a great record. So you picked one of his solo records from about 1990, right? Armchair Theater. So tell me why that's the one.
Because I'm a big ELO fan. I'm a big Jeff Lynne fan in general. But when I was in the studio recording some of these songs on Hence, I would listen to that record for production, just his song and his production values. And it just stuck with me. And it's no different than another record we'll talk in a minute about. But it was just the songwriting, the production, and the simplicity of it. But it's not simple. But it sounds simple. But it's so wonderful. And it like I said, we go to him a lot when we record songs as collective. So I'm like, listen to this drum sound. Now listen to this space. Now listen, he's just a master. Yeah. We have a saying when we're recording. What would Lynne do?
Yeah, that's great. Those records are incredible. And of course, doing Full Moon Fever, which was just this unbelievable rebirth burst with Tom and him. God, I love that record so much. You picked the next one. I love Lindsey Buckingham. Always have. I mean, he's been like a go-to on the Fleetwood Mac albums for me, always. Whether it's Monday Morning or Go Your Own Way, or, but I just love him anyway. Great guitar player, underrated guitar player. Also, just writes great songs. So you picked I think it was his first solo album.
His first, yeah.
Yeah, Law and Order, which has Trouble. I love Trouble. That was the first single from that record. Tell me why you love that record.
I didn't catch up to Fleetwood Mac because I was late bloomer in rock music. I grew up in gospel and hymnal music. So I kind of missed the Fleetwood Mac thing. But when Law and Order came out, once again, it was when I was doing these demos on Hence. And, he kind of brought, I learned about the Beach Boys because hearing him, I was like, oh my God, there's something going on there. And I was like, oh shit, it's Pet Sounds, basically his harmonies and all of that. I was kind of hearing that. And then his finger picking, I did a couple of songs where I tried to, copy him, and it just, Rwanda, just to start the song off. He was just so experimental. And I really loved that. And, because then I was starting to by then I figured out who Fleetwood Mac was, of course, but then he would just experiment like crazy. And I kind of loved that he just didn't stick to Fleetwood Mac. He just went his own. He went his own way, for lack of a better term.
And the next album too, I love the title track of "Go Insane." I love that track. Two types of trouble in this world, live and die. Like the lyrics are just great. It seems so simple.
Well, you know, my oldest son is named after him. My oldest son is named Lindsey Chris. And funny enough, me and my ex-wife, but we went to see Fleetwood Mac, and the next day she found out she's pregnant. And I was like, and I didn't know Lindsay was a feminine name because I knew Lindsey Scott, Lindsey Buckingham. Lindsey Scott was a wide receiver for the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm a big Bulldogs fan, Athens.
Hey, guy was born here in Athens. You know that. UGA.
Yeah, baby. So I just said, if it's a boy or girl, he or she will be named Lindsay, because we saw Fleetwood Mac the night before, and I just thought it was cool.
Yeah, you know, I got to tell you a story Lindsey Buckingham told me. So it was a great story about when Rumors came out. And so the first single on Rumors was Go Your Own Way, which is obviously one of the greatest songs ever. You know, it's just so amazing. And his guitar playing on it, but the lyrics, everything, the arrangement, and he's driving down the 405 here in Los Angeles. And he's listening to it on the radio. And the jerk-off DJ goes, after the song goes, that's the new Fleetwood Mac. It's called Go Your Own Way. He goes, I just can't seem to get the groove of that, man. And he's like, that's the first time he heard it on the radio. And the DJ trashed the song. And he said to me, he goes,
you can't find the groove with Mick Fleetwood and John McVie playing the rhythm section?
The DJ goes, you can't feel the groove of that, man. And then Lindsay was like, what the fuck? And it was like, he was so pissed off about it. Meanwhile, I mean, he had the last laugh at least 20 million times. So that's a great story, man, because, you know, I love that kind of thing. But yeah, because, you know, whatever. I mean, look, there's some people that get things and there's other people that don't. The next record you pick, very important record to me. One of the guys in the band is, you know, from Athens in Georgia, and, you know, teaches there, Dave Barbie. It's Bob Mould's Sugar. You know, Sugar is Copper Blue. One of my
Copper Blue
records of all time, too. Tell me why you love that record.
It came out right. Once again, I kind of looked at the past, and I kind of looked at where I was when I made Hints when we first started. And I remember when we did the second record, we were just infatuated with that record because of the pop, but with the crunch to it at the same time. It just had such great melodies to me, and just, you know, big Skidoo fan. So it just everybody, and I think that's more of a band thing too, because I can remember us as a band just sitting there. You know, it was 2 years old at the time. By the time we had hit, but we would sit on the bus and we'd play that every damn night, and it was just because we were like, this is kind of how we want it. Let's be melodic, but let's give it to them a little bit, you know, driving.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Bob Mould is so great, man. You know, I actually left him a message a couple of days ago trying to get him to do this. You know, I'm waiting to hear back from him, or I should probably text him. But I love Bob. You know,
does he live in Germany still? Do you know?
I'm not sure. So if he's back, if he's there, no wonder I haven't heard from him. I mean, for a while he was living out here. I'm not sure, because the last time I saw him, I was hosting that tribute to Bob Mould, See a Little Light, Walt Disney Music Hall here in LA.
Right.
That he brought me out for, him and Dave Grohl, and that was a great night. I love Bob. We've always been great friends, and, you know, he said such nice things about me in his book, which was really cool.
He did.
I love his. You remember, you read it, right? So you know, like,
yeah.
But that record, man, like, Helpless, A Good Idea,
Hoover Dam.
Yeah. Oh, Hoover Dam's the best. Do you want to hear
Hoover
something?
Dam.
I gotta let you know. First time I went to Las Vegas, Nevada, with a bunch of people, like I was on a trip. Friend brought me out there for my birthday, and we went out and took like boats on Lake Mead, and these guys were, one of the guys used to be in the Navy, and he was like a record company guy. It was Flip the Boat, man. It was like just insanity. And, you know, I just had this conversation with my friend Cat Corbett, DJ from K-Rock and, you know, Sirius, about like the carp that they have there, the fish. They're like, will eat cigarettes, and people throw something like, those fish, what the? It was the weirdest thing. But anyway, I got up there and I stood on the edge of the Hoover Dam, and I sang Standing on the Edge of the Hoover Dam.
That's awesome.
He filmed it, so I got to show it to Bob, which is pretty funny. He thought it was pretty funny. That's such awesome. A great song. And if I can't change your mind, they're like, oh, my God, songs are
I could change your mind. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
but
was
I was
almost like a mixture of 60s pop with just that modern day, I don't want to say grunge, I don't want to put it in that, but like just heavy pop, if that makes
yeah,
sense. Melodic pop.
he's so good.
He had a way of doing it. He nailed it on that.
He really did, and I love that record. And you know, it's one of those records that some people love that was on Ryko disc, and it should have been bigger, but it was big enough that all us alternative guys played on the radio. We played the shit out of it. We loved it. You know,
Yeah.
We picked the Cars Candio next, which I love, man. I remember driving in my car, my Chevy Nova, 1962, and I had like, you know, the cassette player in there that I wired through the thing and listening to that over and over. And just like, I mean, I remember, I'm sure you do too, the first time I heard Just What I Needed. I was on Route 18 in New Jersey. I heard that in that production, Roy Thomas Baker production and that. And I was like, I got to go buy that now. I got to find that record. And then, of course, bought the first Cars album. But I love Candio just as much. And you picked that as one of your favorite records. Tell me what it is about Candio that you love so much.
There's a lot that goes to that to me. I love the first one, and they caught my attention. But I can remember, you remember the old Columbia House where you could order 10 for 1 cent or something like that. So I did that. For a penny.
For a penny. That's how Kid Rock financed his whole first record. Kid Rock financed his whole first record. He goes, yeah, I just used to go to Columbia House and like put on 50, 60 names, and I'm sending all the shit that then I sell it to the record store and get enough money so I can sell my first record, which is pretty funny, actually.
That's awesome.
I
just remember when it just went bow, 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 bow. Just when it just hit, I was like, it took me. It was the beginning of me learning new music because, like I said, up to that point, it'd been more gospel or Elvis, Johnny Cash, great music to be raised on. But it was the first time I'd kind of gone outside that realm. I was like 16 or 17, and at a even better story, the first time I ever had sex was with Candio on. So it holds a dear place in my heart.
Yeah, that's great. That's so good. Yeah, mine was Queen News of the World. You know what I mean?
I want to be honest with you. I didn't get out of the intro on Let's Go. So
oh man, I love that. You know what? That record too, like Dangerous Type got a lot on my head. Like I love those songs, like all the way through the album. And that really crazy, like Shooby-Doo, the experimental thing into Candio.
Right.
So good.
I mean, Candio is kind of where I got the idea from Gel from, to be honest with you. I don't know if you're familiar with that song.
I am.
Of ours. Yeah, that that dun 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 dun. So I kind of redid it a little bit. But they were so influential to me, and not only the sound, but their style and even the artwork they did. I just loved everything about that band. I was, like I said, that's the only band I ever joined a fan club. I just loved it.
Yeah, did you ever get to meet Rick? LED, right?
Yeah, I snuck backstage when I was a kid on the Panorama tour and met them all. I was a little punk, and they were kind, but over the years, I got to meet Ben because Ben before he passed lived in Atlanta, so he and I got to spend some time together. And then I met Elliot, and he and I are I would like to think we're good pals. Like I said, the living room we kind of did as a Cars. It's not Cars songs, but we wanted this to sound like the Cars. Different songs, different ideology in the lyrics and everything. And I sent it to Elliot, and he goes, "Sounds like the Cars." And I said, mission accomplished, So, and to me, if anybody asks me, and anybody that knows me will say, who's your favorite lead guitarist of all time? I always go Elliot Easton, without a doubt, because the solos you could sing. To me, it was a part of the song. You can go bow 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 down bow 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 down. He made it a part of the song. He made it another melody.
Yeah,
that you could sing.
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, that's the thing about those records, and. I'm glad I got to know Rick before he passed. He was, I met him at the 25th anniversary of MTV, and he was with Paulina. I was with my wife, Yvette, and she said hi to them, and I said, what's up with Rick? And she goes, Matt's a huge fan of Rick's, and she goes, well, he's a huge fan of Matt's too. And then we started, we talked, and he gave me his home phone number, like not even his cell, gave me his number at home, and said, hey, man, give me a call. So just so super cool. And I love those records. Roy Thomas Baker, who produced that record.
Oh yeah,
Journey and
Queen.
Queen. Yeah, Queen. Well, we know that. Like, right, those first 4 Queen albums. At least, I took him out for tea. See, I would do a thing when I was a VP of A&R Columbia Records. I would take out every producer that I wanted to pick their brain and ask them about the making of these records. It was very, very fascinating to me. It meant that much to me. And Roy Thomas Baker is great, man. He picked me up in his yellow, like, I think a yellow Corvette or like a yellow convertible, whatever it was. It was just like crazy car. And he picks me up, and we got I'm eating. He just only wanted tea, and told me how he made, did all those recordings with Queen and the Cars and Journey, and just it was such a cool guy and such a character. But I mean, his layering of vocals, it's like that was unmatched, man. He was just the way he made those records, man. Right?
He had that algorithm down for the background vocals. He really did.
It's just so amazing. But again, he's an amazing producer. But it is about the artist. At the end of the day, it's always that too. It's
right.
really funny because I was talking to this guy Robert, who great guy, who was the one who made all the settings and sounds for Stevie Wonder for all those records in the 70s, like Superstition and Higher Ground and all that. And did like That Lady. I've talked about this before about Isley Brothers. But I love the humbleness. He goes, you know what? He goes, yes, I did create all that for Stevie. He goes, but he wrote the songs. You guys, it's still the artist, no matter what.
Right, 100%.
Now, one more album we have to talk about, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. I love, how can you not love Tom? You picked Damn the Torpedoes, album number 3. You said you went through a similar thing, what he went through. And I was telling somebody today how Danny Bramson, who worked with Cameron Crowe on so many movie soundtracks, started Backstreet Records, and bought Tom Petty's contract out of Shelter to get him to do Damn the Torpedoes because he loved Tom. And it was all he wanted. And he was going to leave Universal Amphitheater as their booking guy. And they said, what do you want? We don't want you to leave. He goes, I want my own record label. And I want enough money to buy Tom Petty out of his contract so I can bring him over here and get him out of that bad deal he's in. And then the result was Damn the Torpedoes and Jimmy Iovine, who I worked for a while. So talk to me about why you love that.
When it first came out, once again, it's just it's amazing to me how I put the needle on the record. And I can remember doing that. It was given to me on my 16th birthday or something like that. This girl who I wanted to date, but she wouldn't date me, gave it to me for my birthday. And I remember just putting it on there. You just hear that pop, 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 and then the organ. It's the ultimate American rock band to me. I don't think there's been a better American rock band to me. It just everything sits there perfectly, and his lyrics are so you can shut your eyes when you hear what he's saying, and you can visualize. It's visual, and you as a songwriter you want to try to do the same thing. And he also had that, I don't want to say Elvis thing, but it's that Southern confidence, even how he spoke, how he sang. And, he's him and Elvis Costello, probably the people I've seen the most live, and Elton. But I just used to, it was just consistency too. Hypnotic Eye, his last album, I think it's one of the best albums he's ever done. He ever did. I'm sorry, rest in peace. And it was, when he passed, I just sat there and cried. Like, it was like I just lost a friend, though I never met him. But it was just like that part of I won't get that every year, every 2 years that I so look forward to. But Damn the Torpedoes was the beginning of it for me, because I once again I was late catching up, and from that record on, and then later in life when we went through what we went through, I understood what he was going through, and for him to accomplish that and to make such a wonderful, beautiful record during that time, Century City's about him going to the attorneys every day after recording or before he was recording. He was just having to deal with the same shit I had to deal with. Yeah. And he came through like a champ, man.
He certainly did. And I love his first two records. I mean, I've said before on this show that I brought that first record to high school, and everybody liked it. Like the jocks, the punks. Tom Petty was the one thing that was like it was a unifying thing. When I played Breakdown and American Girl and Rockin' Around with You and Fooled Again, I Don't Like It, and anything that's rock and roll, people were like, it's just deadheads. Everybody liked it.
I agree. And the only other record I can ever think, I'm glad you brought that up, because the only other record I can remember that had the same vibe was Appetite for Destruction. It didn't matter if you were a punk or if you were a hair band or anything, like you just loved that record. And I think Tom did the same thing during that time period in the late 70s, in early 80s when he was kicking it, when their level of popularity, like everybody liked it. Nobody could say anything bad. It was just good.
And I was the same thing. You're right. Like, man, It's So Easy. When I heard that, I'm like, this is fucking sounds like the Dead Boys, man. It was so good. It's so much attitude. And
right.
And Tom had a swagger.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it's a Southern Elvis thing he had. I know he met Elvis. I've read all these interviews with him and everything, but he just had this confidence and this aura about him. Even on stage, I could see him, and you're just like, even if he didn't move around much, you just couldn't keep your eyes off of him. He was like a modern day Johnny Cash. You just couldn't keep your eyes off of him.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Interrupt you because I know there's another show coming on, but I wanted to just say it. Yeah, he met Elvis on a movie shoot, and Elvis blew him off. Remember that in the documentary? But he still loved him. And I'm going to say one last thing about Tom Petty before we're done. Tom Petty made a song sound so simple, but you couldn't write that like he did. Like somebody like You Don't Know How It Feels or Wildflowers and those things like it's just he had that thing that he could write something that just felt like it could come out of you so easy, it's a very difficult thing to accomplish,
It could be the hardest thing to do. Once again, he just had confidence and a aura about him that was, he felt good within his own body, man, and his own spirit.
Well, we love him and we miss him. And Ed, listen, thank you for doing the show today. I love you. We could talk for hours. It's great to see you as always. And I had a lot of fun with you today, man. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Matt. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, man. Say hi to the rest of the guys in the band, and we will connect soon when all this pandemic stuff is over. I will certainly be at your next show in Los Angeles or anywhere pretty much in Southern California. If you come, I'll make the drive. We'll be there, okay?
All right. Look forward to it, buddy.
Okay, thank you so much, Ed. Ed Roland, everybody from Collective Soul. This has been In a Lonely Place. Tomorrow we're here with Pete Wentz of Fall Out Boy. It's just been so much fun talking about Ed's favorite records and spending time with you. Thank you once again for joining us. And for Music Cares, for Carrie Brown, for Linda Perry, for Chris Trevero, for Rick Krim, for Andre from Proper. We're doing so much stuff. I'm so happy for all the people that are working on the show. I just want to say thank you for watching and keep the music in your heart. I'll see you guys tomorrow.